Welcome, everybody, to Sports on Tap. My name is Ed Dick, along with Rob Traub and Josh Jeffy. Sean Duffy, temporarily on assignment. He will be joining us here very shortly here. This is week 2 of the Sports on Tap high school football coverage. We will be going through the week 2 recaps, and we have two very special guests on today. We're representing both Avon and North Olmsted. Two tremendous athletes. We have Jared Kelley from North Olmsted coming on a little bit later, and Gavin Ehrhardt from Avon. Both of these players played in extremely high-scoring games, which you will find out here shortly. We have extended coverage on the Avon Medina game, and then we'll be going through our normal conferences: the Great Lakes Conference, the Suburban League, the Greater Cleveland Conference, and the Southwestern Conference. We are brought to you by GV Artwork, RRT Productions, G&G Fitness Equipment, Ray Felton Insurance, and Bandwagon Fantasy Sports. And we'll get into those a little bit later as well. But guys, here we are. It's week 2. We're usually in week 1 at this point, but with the extended playoffs, we get to talk football a little bit earlier than we're used to. But we a lot of high scores, lots of great games to look forward to here. So let's go. Let's start where we usually start, the Greater Cleveland Conference, with Josh Jeffy. Let's get it. I will get the obligatory PowerPoint that Sean Duffy put together for us, and we'll be ready to roll.
Thanks, Ed. First, I want to give my apologies to the Brunswick Blue Devils and the Olmsted Falls Bulldogs. That was the game I was supposed to cover, but that dreaded COVID got me. Yes, I did test positive for COVID last week, so I had to stay at home. Luckily, everything was good. I was able to actually listen to our featured game of the week, Avon and Medina, on the radio, WDLW out there in Lorain County. Those guys do a great job. We'll get to that game momentarily. But the first game we're going to get to is how about the Strongsville Mustangs? After losing week 1 35-0 to the Avon Lake Shoremen, they come back and win 35-27 over Midview. This game actually belonged to Michael Kovac, the senior linebacker / running back. Strongsville was actually down 21-7 in this game. And he decided he wanted to change the momentum, and he did with a 56-yard interception return for a touchdown. He also added 2 rushing touchdowns later on in this game. In total on defense, this is where he really left his mark, and he was a stud on the defensive end. And these stats were, according to our good friends on Twitter, NEO Ohio Big School High School Football. That guy's got all over the place covering the big schools in Northeast Ohio High School Football. So I want to give him credit for these stats. 18.5 tackles during the game, 2.5 sacks, along with that interception. And again, 2 rushing touchdowns on offense and 1 pick six for a touchdown. Case McIntyre in this game, we'll give him a little credit on this one. He caught his first high school touchdown pass of his career, 48-yard touchdown reception from Nolan Beard. Nolan Beard notching that first victory. He looked a little shaky in his first game, came back, and they get the victory. So Strongsville improves to 1-1. Midview drops to 1-1. Not so good second game for the Euclid Panthers. They dropped to 0-2 with a 35-0 loss to the Hudson Explorers. Hudson improves to 2-0. This game was all Hudson. Now, with Euclid, they could not stop Jagger Pillay in this one. He got the scoring off early for the Explorers. And once again, as similar to week 1 for the Panthers, it was mistakes, costly little mistakes, turnovers, not being able to move the ball on third down, advance it to get the first down. Those little mistakes are costing them right now, but they're a young team. They're going to continue to grow in the new system. So we'll see. Hopefully next week they'll be able to notch their first victory. It's not going to be easy for them, though. The Solon Comets improved to 2-0 with a 34-0 drubbing of the Shaker Heights Red Raiders. This game was actually 0-0 after the first quarter. And then after that, it was all Solon. Solon actually scored 27 points in the first half. It started with a pick six on defense and then touchdowns by E.J. Taylor, Joel Capasso, and Harley Barman for the Comets. Brock Bowling also scored, finished with a rushing touchdown in the third quarter to put Solon up 34-0, and that's how the game would end. Olmsted Falls with a big-time victory over the Brunswick Blue Devils. Brunswick drops to 0-2 with a 32-7 loss. Olmsted Falls improves to 1-1. Now, some signs of life for the Brunswick Blue Devils. Ethan Roxandich, the quarterback, he found Jake Sofko for the only score of the game. But again, Ethan Roxandich, it's going to take me a little while to get that name down. We'll get it, though. He really was playing relatively well in this game. And he, again, just like Nolan Beard of Strongsville, Ethan gets his first touchdown. And you can see from game 1 to game 2, there's growth there. So that's positive. And hey, let's give Brunswick's defense credit. They kept Rocco Conte under 100 yards rushing, and that's no small feat. He had 86 yards of rushing in this game. Rob will talk about that a little bit more from the Olmsted Fall side during his recap. And if not for the Medina-Avon game in the GCC, this game would have been the game of the week. It was St. Ignatius against Menor. This one actually went into 3 overtimes. Ignatius got the win 26-20, but for Menor, a lot of positives could be made from this game. They started down actually in this game 14-0 before scoring 20 straight points. And to get the 20th point, it was Scotty Fox to Jordan Stapleton. That was actually in the 4th quarter for them to take the lead, 20-14. In this game, Scotty Fox had 190 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Jordan Stapleton, a solid game, 9 receptions, 159 yards, and a touchdown. St. Ignatius, though, came back late in the 4th quarter. Sean Martin intercepted the ball, and then he went on to rush for a 10-yard touchdown to tie the game. It was actually Notre Dame commit Brennan Vernon who actually blocked the extra point, leading to the first overtime session. Later on in overtime, it was Brennan Vernon again blocked a field goal that would have won the game for the Wildcats. Head into a 3rd overtime, and then it was actually Sean Martin again. He ran the ball from 20 yards out to score the game-winning touchdown. Also got to give credit to Mitchell Waite in this one, 35 carries. Yes, 35 carries, 132 yards. Menor drops to 1-1, and Ignatius actually with their first victory on the year, they go to 1-0. We will talk about the final game in the Greater Cleveland Conference, Medina and Avon, here a little bit later on in the broadcast. It was an historic performance from the Medina Airbees. I'm going to start calling them Airbees because I think that works. You can also go last year. I'll say right now, last year we had Drew to Brennan, Air D&B, a little play on Airbnb. This year we got Air D&B Part 2 with Danny and Brennan. So we'll talk about those numbers later on. But all I'll say is they're historical. Rob was at that game. He witnessed it. I was listening to it on the radio. It was awesome. So next week's schedule, Menor will play host to Riverside. Brunswick will travel to Highland. Euclid will play host to Massillon Perry. Medina travels to Wadsworth, and I think what could be another really high-scoring, fun game. Solon will play host to Stowe Monroe Falls. That's going to be an awesome game as well. And Strongsville will travel to Brecksville. My GCC G&G Fitness Player of the Week nominee went to Brennan Schramm, and you will find out why a little bit later if you don't already know. Historic performance. Fellas, that wraps up this week in the GCC, and all I got to say is, whew.
Yeah. There's lots of chocolate milk coming your way too, Josh.
Yeah, for me. That was tough to go. No, a lot of solid performances. Michael Novak for Strongsville really taking on that senior leadership and actually willing his team to a victory, I believe. Euclid, we got to see if they can get off the schneid a little bit. They are struggling with the new coaching staff, new players, but I'm sure they'll come around here soon. They got a tough matchup against Massillon Perry. Medina, Solon, keep it rolling. Menor with the tough win. I think they'll get back on track. I mean, you can't take nothing away from. I mean, that was just a great game. And Brunswick, we'll see if they can get off the schneid. They got a really tough matchup though, traveling to Hudson in that Medina County rivalry game.
Yeah, nice work. I mean, a lot of great games. Impressed with Strongsville coming back and getting a nice win there, but and surprised a little bit with Euclid. I thought Euclid would be putting up some kind of points, but I think the first 2 weeks now they haven't scored any points, right, in the first 2 games.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and they'll get off the schneid. It's just a matter of when. That's all.
You know, a team like Euclid, they usually go. They're kind of cyclical as well. They had a pretty good run of success when Coach Rotsky was just there. but they're kind of in rebuild mode at the moment. And, a team like Euclid has, that district has many talented kids. And once the new coach, once coach gets his program fully installed, I have no doubt that they'll be able to get off to a little bit faster starts. It doesn't get any easier in the conference once Shaker Heights and Cleveland Heights joins on top of 3 tough non-conferences that they usually schedule as well. Speaking of tough conferences, let's shift over to Rob with the Southwestern Conference.
Yeah, thanks, Ed. And it was a really great week. I mean, we talked, or Josh went over or kind of teased a little bit the Medina-Avon game we'll get to later in the show. But first we'll start off with Amherst versus Buckeye, and Buckeye wins that game 41-21. Amherst did have touchdowns by Landon Fellenstein and 2 by Cole Norris. And actually in this game, Cole Norris scored first for Amherst, and they led 7-0, but Buckeye really got back on track and took over the game with a 41-21 win there. Amherst at 0-2 now on the season. Brecksville versus Avon Lake, and Avon Lake, this is the second straight game now where they blanked a team. They were honoring Mike Metters, he's a fallen soldier, on this night, and tried to show out in this game. 8 quarters of shutout football, another great job by the Shoremen. They held the Bees to minus 20 yards in the first half in this game, and what an impressive defense by Avon Lake as they continue to really bring it on the defensive side of the ball. It was quarterback Jeremy Disick. He was 14 of 18 for 205 yards and a score. Avon Lake also did have scores from Derek McCrum on a 7-yard pass. Jason Krakowski and Wade Nelson also had rushing touchdowns in this game as they blanked Brecksville 35-0. Avon Lake now 2-0, and again 8 quarters of shutout football for the Shoremen. So congratulations to them on just an outstanding first 2 games there. Now Nordonia taking on Berea-Midpark. This was an absolute offensive juggernaut. It was 37-34. Nordonia escapes, and actually in this game, Berea-Midpark, they led 21-6 in the second quarter, but they were unable to hold on. It was senior quarterback Troy Schick for the Titans. He completed 15 of 28 passes for 193 yards and 2 touchdowns. Hudson Devins, he got back on track in this game. 24 carries, 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. The top receiver was junior Austin Clay. He caught 5 passes for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns. And the Titans defense, again, Hudson Devins, he had 4.5 tackles and a sack for the Titans, who fall 37-34. They're now 0-2 on the year, and that was a close game. They had control of it and just couldn't hang on there. So moving on to Elyria versus Bedford. And Elyria, Lance Glover, the running back, he got back on the ground and in control. 132 yards rushing and a touchdown on 17 carries. 26-6, a big win for Elyria as they get back in the win column against a very good Bedford team, although Bedford only put up 6 points, but give Illyria's defense credit. It was Isaiah Johnson. He had 13 tackles and a sack, and also pressured the quarterback a lot with an interception. He was impressive on the defensive side. Again, Elyria 26-6 winners there. Strongsville versus Midview. And Strongsville, Josh, you went over this a little bit, a 35-27 win, a good bounce back win after a very tough loss to Avon Lake at home. It was quarterback Mark Reed. He ran in a touchdown, and he had a big game for Midview. He also passed to Mason Cusera, passed to another James Ansel. He had 1 rushing touchdown, did Mark Reed, the quarterback, and 3 passing touchdowns. And this game really was close. It went back and forth, but Midview unable to pull off the comeback, and Strongsville hangs on to a 35-27 win. Midview 1-1 on the season. And how about North Ridgeville? This is a team that seems to be like comeback kids here as they get a 21-20 win on Thursday night. They may not want to play another game on Friday night because they're 2-0 on Thursday night games, especially against a very good Valley Forge team who's coming off a win against Amherst. and a big performance. And I think we're going to call this guy's name a lot. He's freshman running back Zach Barnhart. He scored twice and rushed for 170 yards in North Ridgeville's comeback win. But give credit to him. He had the tying score in the final minute to push North Ridgeville to 2-0 for the first time since 2015. And the Rangers, again, pull off a 21-20 victory. They were trailing most of this game, and they had a really nice comeback. And give credit to Coach Morgan. He has these young Rangers believing in themselves. Again, they improved to 2-0. Now, Olmsted Falls, 32-7 win versus Brunswick, and it was Rocco Conti. He did lead the way in this game, but give credit to the Brunswick defense. Josh mentioned it. He only rushed for 80 yards. He did have 2 touchdowns, and he had 15 carries. He added 17 yards on 2 receptions in this game. But give credit to the Bulldogs. They were able to rotate some players in this game. They win 32-7, a nice win on the road versus Brunswick. And how about Olmsted Falls? I mean, that's 2 games on the road. They face a very good Chardon team and lost in a close one. They rebound very nicely against a very good Brunswick team, 32-7. We'll get to the Medina Avon game. If you want to see some good video highlights in this one, I was there. It must have taken me 2 to 3 hours to put this video together because there were so many highlights in this game. But give credit to where credit is due. Both teams really fought hard. And my G&G Fitness Player of the Week went to Jacorian Caffey, the running back for Avon. What a game he had. Over 284 yards, I believe it was, in this game. He had 3 touchdowns, and he was a difference maker. Not to mention, there was a 2-headed monster in Gavin Ehrhardt, who's going to join us on the show coming up at the 8:15 hour to talk about the game.
Rob.
Yeah.
I was on mute. I was gonna say, I was waving my arms. I'm like, don't spoil it. Don't. That's a tease. Let him.
I think you're.
Stay for the feature. I was on mute. I muted myself again.
Well, I
thought you were just waving hi to Sean.
No,
That's
I don't care that he's here. We start at 7:30, homie.
To be fair, it coincided with when Sean's face popped up on the screen. I thought you were just really waving to say hi to him. So,
and I actually can't see Josh Jeffy because I have the scoreboard on full screen.
Well, you're better off that way, I guess.
But let me give you the quick schedule. We have North Olmsted at Amherst. We have Glenville at Avon. We have St. John the Baptist from New York coming up to Avon Lake. We have Berea-Midpark traveling to Columbus St. Francis de Sales. We have Lorraine at Elyria, Midview at Elyria Catholic, Normandy at North Ridgeville, and Norwalk at Olmsted Falls, and that is the Southwestern Conference for you in a nutshell there. And want to thank everybody for joining us. Go to our website and you can see later in the week, the full schedule of the games in each one of these conferences, and we do have scores and videos on sportsontappodcast.com.
Absolutely, and you're currently watching us on YouTube at our at Sports on Tap. Our Twitter handle is at SOT Podcast. Check out sportsontappodcast.com for all the latest news, our Twitter feed, all of our sponsors, and obviously click the subscribe button. Every time you pop on, you will get those notifications. Rob, lots of action going on in the Southwestern Conference. How about North Ridgeville? As you said, it seems like this Thursday game time seems to work out for them. It's not sustainable, obviously, from scheduling reasons, but what a great start to the season for North Ridgeville so far.
I know. This is a young team that, you have a freshman running back you're kind of riding the way of right now, and he's getting the job done. Each week it seems like he's getting better and better, and probably more confidence. But Coach Morgan, what a job he's done with these guys. A really young team. You didn't hear too much about them in, before the season in the previews that, this team would be winning games like they have. But let's see if they can continue. They have a pretty good matchup. Normandy is going to travel to North Ridgeville, so that's a winnable game. You're at home now. Your fans are probably going to be pretty excited, and we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, it's a pretty good story. That's for sure.
No doubt. It's not very often that we get to see freshman running backs make a big impact, especially in our area where – we're a pretty populated area, so for the fact that a freshman is making as big of an impact as he is against some pretty good competition, is huge. So the sky's the limit for him as he navigates through his freshman year, let alone the next 3 years there. All right, fresh back from vacation, on assignment, is Sean Duffy, my cohort, my colleague, my compadre. He is back for the Suburban League, talking everything that is what he likes to say is fit the print. Without further ado, Sean, please take it away.
Thank you, Ed. I'm happy to be back. First of all, can you hear me? Can everyone hear me? Is everything good?
Yeah, we hear you.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's number one. We'll first start off with our non-conference matchups in both the American and National Division of the Suburban League in Week 2. A few surprises in the Suburban League American. Number one is Riverside going into Aurora and escaping with a big win. All indications for Aurora was this was more of a measuring stick game for them, trying to see how they measure up to a really good team in Riverside, being that they graduated a majority of their team and their starters last year. But unfortunately, Riverside was able to take it to Aurora in Week 2 with a 34-23 victory. Aurora quarterback Matt Geyer had 2 touchdowns, 1 passing and 1 rushing touchdown in this, but it just wasn't enough for the Greenmen to get past Riverside. Moving on, Firestone and Copley got together, and Copley's offense exploded in Week 2 with a 49-26 victory over Firestone. Copley quarterback Dawan Owens, also my nominee for Suburban League Player of the Week, went 17 of 29 for 309 passing yards and rushed for 129 yards and 4 touchdowns in this game. It was a fantastic performance. Copley wide receiver had 8 receptions and 141 yards, 2 touchdowns, as well as a 81-yard kickoff return for a touchdown in this, as again Copley rolls 49-26 over Firestone. Normandy traveled to take on Cuyahoga Falls, and as I'd like to say, a football game occurred, and Cuyahoga Falls came out on the bad end of this, 37-0. Not much to say for Cuyahoga Falls, as Normandy was just too much of a match for Cuyahoga Falls in this one. Revere got its first win, and more importantly, Coach Robert Nickel gets his first victory as Revere coach, as they get a 28-21 victory over Eastlake North. Revere quarterback Zach Oleknowitz. Again, this is the best I can spend all day practicing this.
That was a great effort, Sean. Great effort. Good job.
Best I could do. He finished the game with 33 carries, 228 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Again, I had a lot of opportunities and a lot of performances in Suburban League, both national and American, to choose from. It was a tough decision this week. But again, Zach Oleknowitz, 33 carries, 228 yards, 3 touchdowns to lead the Minutemen to their first win of the season. Ellett and Talmadge got together, and Talmadge picked up where they left off last week. Ty Hurst actually set a Talmadge school record with 63 career touchdown passes, beating Anthony Gatto's 58 that's been set since 2013. This was a fantastic performance by Hurst yet again. He made a case for another opportunity for the Suburban League Player of the Week. He went 11 of 18, 392 yards and 5 touchdowns. Talmadge wide receiver Colin Dixon, a Wisconsin recruit, 6 receptions, 211 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns on the night as well. That is all for the non-conference in the American Division. We'll go quickly to the non-conference in the National Division, then we'll talk about the cross-division matchups as we go into the final part of this. Starting off with Avon Lake and Brecksville, and as Rob touched on, there was another football game that occurred in Brecksville, but Brecksville blanked by Avon Lake 35-0. There's not a lot to say for Brecksville in this one. Again, they ran into a buzzsaw that was Avon Lake, and we'll move on from there. As Josh touched on, Hudson got a 35-0 victory against Euclid. Hudson quarterback Jagger Pillay, an efficient 7 for 7 with 100 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. And Hudson running back Ian Ludwig had 16 carries, 78 yards. He had 2 rushing touchdowns and a receiving touchdown in this to give the Hudson a 35-0 win over Euclid. Nordonia and Berea-Midpark, and again another cross SOT matchup here. Nordonia comes back from 2 touchdown deficit in the second quarter to get a 37-34 victory over the Berea-Midpark Titans. And again, the deciding factor in this game, Rob, I don't know if you touched on it, was turnovers. there were a lot of turnovers by Berea-Midpark, costly turnovers that kept Nordonia in this game and really allowed Nordonia to come back and win this game. Nordonia quarterback Joey Palinkas finished 14 of 21, 125 yards, and 1 rushing touchdown, along with Zach Zender, running back for Nordonia, had 60-yard and 2 rushing touchdowns on the night as well, as Nordonia ekes out a 37-34 victory in week 2. Willoughby South and Twinsburg, and again, Twinsburg found themselves for the second week in a row in a real close game. Unfortunately, they came out on the wrong side of this one, 35-34, as they fall to Willoughby South. A failed 2-point conversion was the culprit here for Twinsburg. They just weren't able to convert and take the lead late in the game. Twinsburg quarterback Joey Pollard did have 4 touchdown passes on the night, but it just wasn't enough for the Tigers to get that second win of the season. Wadsworth and Worcester, and Wadsworth put a whooping on Worcester, 49-21 in week 2, as quarterback Luke Fisher went 13 of 16, 247 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. The Wadsworth defense forced 4 second-half turnovers in this, and all those were converted to points as Worcester cruised to a 49-21 victory in week 2. Now, as we go to our cross-division matchups, we had 2 of them this week. It was Barberton versus Stowe, and I think this was the most surprising outcome that a lot of people did not see coming, as Barberton's defense blanked Stowe. In fact, they dominated Stowe this entire game. They completely shut down Stowe, forcing 5 turnovers in the game and not allowing the Stowe offense to cross the 50-yard line until late in the second half of this game. Barberton dominated this from the beginning. Their defense was fantastic. Xavier Roosevelt had 3 sacks on the night and basically lived in the backfield, not allowing any sort of rhythm or any sort of opportunity for Stowe to get anything going on offense. Magic's running back Xavier Macon had 2 touchdowns on the night. In fact, scored all the touchdowns for the Magics on the night. The one bright spot, if you could call it that, for Stowe, linebacker Teddy Gregory did have 1 sack and 12 tackles on the night, but it just was not enough for Stowe to really get blanked here, 20-0 by Barberton. And it was a pretty. When I looked at this on Friday night, when I was checking my scores, I had to check it a couple times to make sure I was getting the latest score, because you don't see this from a Stowe game. That they don't get shut out a lot, and it was very, very surprising. My final crossover game was Highland traveling to North Royalton. And again, a football game was played in North Royalton. This was all Highland all night. And a lot of it goes to running back Lucas Stiles, who had 137 rushing yards on the night. He had 3 total touchdowns on the night. Quarterback Andrew Lurtz also had a rushing touchdown and 2 passing touchdowns on the night. And again, it was a lopsided victory. They were playing second stringers early in the fourth quarter in this game on a running clock. 41-0, the final score, as Highland takes it to North Royalton. And that's all that's fit to print here for the Suburban League in week 2, guys. There was a lot of opportunities and a lot of performances that could have gotten my player of the week. But as I said, I went with Copley's Dawan Owens, who just really had a fantastic week and built on a week from last week too. He had a really good week last week as well. But again, there was many opportunities to pick from. A lot of performances in the Suburban League.
And before we move on, and thankfully they're not in our coverage area, but to the people of Worcester, we understand it's not Worcester. Sean is from Dayton, so please give us a little Vandalia, obviously, but just give us a little leeway there.
Here's the thing. From Worcester, whatever you want to say it, they need to score some points because they got whooped any which way you say it. Wadsworth went in there and whooped them or whooped them. I don't care how you say it. They got whooped.
All right, well, hey,
that's the fire, dude. That's the fire we were missing from last week.
That's right.
Real quick, Sean. Looks like Highlands picked up where they left off from last year, and from the National Division, Nordonia, Hudson, even Wadsworth, starting out hot. Stowe, again, a surprising result from Stowe. I mean, they were you're replacing a 4-year starting quarterback is no easy feat by any stretch of the imagination. But we're not used to seeing Stowe take one to the chin like that, especially against the other division, no matter how familiar that they are with each other.
Yeah, you look at the National Division specifically, and Stowe is usually a stalwart there. But again, Wadsworth had a good week. I really do think that an Ordonia and Hudson are kind of maybe we'll see how it breaks out in conference play. Switching to the American division, Aurora's kind of that team where they're kind of, hopefully they can build towards the end of the year. But right now, Talmadge is a scary team. I don't think anybody wants to play Talmadge. There's too much offensive firepower there. They got a good defense. It's Ty Hurst, it's Colin Dixon, there's a couple other guys that I couldn't put down there just because I would have been listing, but Ben Jacoby, all those guys. There's a senior class at Talmadge that's really going to do something special this year, I think. So I wouldn't put it past Talmadge to be at the top of this division. I look forward to that Talmadge Highland game because I think that's going to go a long way to determining how kind of the route of the American division as well.
And we mentioned too, Ty Hurst is a 4-year guy, which again is rare in these parts. So he is really taking that leap from building on the past 3 years to his senior year, and Talmadge is looking very, very good going into their last non-conference game of the year. All right, we'll transition over to the Great Lakes Conference. So I get to talk. I'll talk a little bit here. So we'll start off with Amherst Steel against Buckeye. Buckeye gets a 41-21 victory over Amherst. For Buckeye, it was Troy McCann. He had 14 rushes for 154 yards, 3 touchdowns, and they had a 2-point conversion. He had an 80-yard touchdown run on Buckeye's first play from scrimmage, which coincidentally enough happened last week on the first play from scrimmage against Cloverleaf. So McCann definitely making his mark for the Bucks there. Quarterback Casey Murray, talk about efficiency, 6 of 7 passing for 191 yards and a touchdown. Then the big man Todd Allen had 1.5 sacks for the Bucks. With the win, Buckeye improves to 2-0. Holy Name had quite the drive. They had to go out to Clyde to take on Clyde. That's a very, very tough matchup there. And Javon Williams ran for a touchdown. He also threw a touchdown to Andrew Cole. Unfortunately for Holy Name, the Namers missed a game-tying field goal with about a minute left, and that was the deficit. It was a 20-17 victory for Clyde over Holy Name. Certainly no shame in losing that game if you're Holy Name. Clyde is a perennial powerhouse in their respective division, and that's a tough venue to play at. So with the loss, Holy Name drops to 1-1. Bay, a little bit of crossover action here. Bay took down Lakewood, and it was for Lakewood. It was Don McCulloch. He rushed for 58 yards and a touchdown, and he had 11 tackles on defense. For Bay Village, Brendan Spellman rushed 22 times for 65 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jack McAlay had 9.5 tackles and a sack. Bay gets a 26-7 victory over Lakewood. Lakewood falls to 1-1 overall. Bay improves to 2-0. Normandy gets as Sean mentioned earlier, Normandy with a 37-0 victory over Cuyahoga Falls. Normandy 2-0 on the year. Congratulations to the Invaders. And we'll have a tough one coming up next week. We'll talk about the Harris shortly. Fairview gets a crossover victory over Parma, 22-0. Parma has yet to score a touchdown or a point this year. Fairview improves to 1-1 overall. Parma falls to 0-2. Rob mentioned earlier it was a Thursday night affair between North Ridgeville and Valley Forge. For Valley Forge, Elijah Williams had 2 rushing touchdowns that covered 22 and 3 yards. Shane Morden had another touchdown from 11 yards out to pace the Patriots. Defensively, they got interceptions from Taylor Moore and Connor Posniak. However, the Patriots could not hold a 20-7 fourth quarter lead. North Ridgeville comes all the way back, and they get the 21-20 victory over the Patriots. Valley Forge drops to 1-1. And another exciting game. There was a bunch of them over across the land this time for week 2. Elyria Catholic found themselves in a dogfight against Sandusky Perkins. That is always a good battle when these two teams play with each other. Levi Ellis rushed 24 times for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Brady Cook, he threw 3 touchdown passes covering 79, 30, and 21 yards to 3 different receivers. He hit Mason Halliburton, Tony Grasso, and Colin Ginley. It got to overtime. Sandusky Perkins scored first. They kicked the extra point to go ahead. EC scored a touchdown, and they went for two, and they put it in the hands of Levi Ellis. Unfortunately for the Panthers, he was stopped just short of the goal line, and Sandusky Perkins gets a 42-41 overtime victory over Elyria Catholic. With the loss, Elyria Catholic falls to 1-1. What a game that was. Speaking of games, another monster game that happened here. I should probably advance the slide here. In the Western Division, Green took on North Olmsted. North Olmsted traveling to Green Green was a state semifinalist last year, and they certainly proved why. However, Jared Kelley rushed 30 times for 229 yards. He also had 61 receiving yards and 3 total touchdowns. Xavier Balson rushed for a touchdown. He passed for 3 more. North Olmsted had a 41-40 lead in the fourth quarter, but Green, the Bulldogs, snatched it away from the Eagles. A 51-41 loss for North Olmsted against Green. We will have Jared Kelley on later in the show. I'll talk a little bit about the game and as far as how his season is going as well. North Olmsted has dropped 2 tough games to tough opponents so far. Firelands gets a 31-24 victory over Rocky River. Rocky River falls to 0-2. The defending Great Lakes Conference champions having a little trouble getting their footing so far in 2022. We'll see how they do next week. Then Westlake gets a 30-20 victory over Rhodes. Matthew Porcelli, he was a junior running back. He rushed 28 times for 129 yards and 3 touchdowns. With the win, Westlake ups their record to 1-1. My G&G Fitness Player of the Week nominee for the Great Lakes Conference. This guy could probably be it every single week, but that was a very impressive effort against a quality opponent. Levi Ellis, senior running back linebacker from Elyria Catholic, gets the nod this week for the G&G Fitness Player of the Week nominee. For next week in week 3, we have a couple crossover games. Lakewood will take on Fairview. Both teams are 1-1. Valley Forge is 1-1. They're going to travel to Rocky River, 0-2. Bunch of non-league games here. University School is 1-1. They'll travel to 2-0 Bay. Buckeye will travel to Copley. That's going to be a great game. We'll see how Buckeye deals with Dewan Owens and the talent that he has. Midview goes to Elyria Catholic, a battle of 1-1 squads there. A battle of the undefeateds. Normandy travels to North Ridgeville, both 2-0. Parma and West Geauga are looking to get off the schneid themselves. They are both 0-2. Parma will travel to Chesterland for that game. North Olmsted is 0-2. They will take on Amherst, an old SWC rivalry there. Both teams are 0-2, looking for their first win. Warrensville Heights travels to Westlake. Westlake is 1-1. Warrensville looking for their first victory as an independent schedule. Holy Name is going to be on a bye this week. So Javon Williams, Christian Sanchez, and the rest of the Green Wave take a break, take some stock after a tough loss against Clyde, and they'll get back after it in week 4. There's a lot going on in the lot going on in the Great Lakes Conference as well. So far, early returns are looking good for Bay Village, 2-0 to start their season. On the east side, Buckeye is picking up where they left off. Valley Forge, tough loss to North Ridgeville. Seems like North Ridgeville kind of has their number at this point. They've been able to nip Valley Forge the last couple of years. Normandy, good for them. I'm really happy for Normandy getting 2 wins to start their season. Unfortunately, usually in conference play, they have a little bit. It's tough for them to get their footing in conference play. So for them to build up a little bit in non-conference is fantastic. Fairview gets a win as well over Parma. Both teams traditionally haven't done as well as they would like to in the Great Lakes Conference, but we'll see where they go from there. Rocky River, the loss of Tommy Beebe from last year has loomed large. We haven't seen a whole lot of information about Rocky River coming out, through various means. But Coach Wells is a very good coach. Rocky River is traditionally a very good program. I have no doubt that they will get themselves back in their winning ways as well. So that is what we have for the Great Lakes Conference. And we are going to be joined here shortly by Avon senior running back linebacker Gavin Ehrhardt. And then following him at 8:30, we'll have running back, all do everything for North Olmsted. Jared Kelley is going to join us at 8:30. And then we're going to go through the game of the week, which was Avon and Medina. What a tremendous game that was. And then we'll wrap up the show there. Let's shout out to our sponsors again while we have a couple minutes here. G&G Fitness Equipment, www.livefit.com. They are our sponsors for the Player of the Week. Make sure you visit their website as well. GV Artwork. Use the code. Go to gvartwork.com. Use the promo code ONTAP10 to get 10% off of your order. RRT Productions. We shoot, we edit, you win. That's www.rrt- or dash, however you want to call it, productions.com. RRT Productions can shoot video of your event, game, or special occasion. Visit the website to contact them. Contact us today. Ray Felton State Farm Insurance out of Hudson, Ohio. Call Ray's office for a free auto quote to see if you can save money on your auto insurance. He is at 234-284-2996. He is at 5603 Darrow Road, Suite 500 in beautiful Hudson, Ohio. Last and certainly not least, Bandwagon Fantasy Sports. Think you know college better than us? Join our free league on the Bandwagon Fantasy Sports app to find out. Bandwagon is the only simple, engaging, and competitive fantasy sports platform focused on teams rather than individual players. The league name for us specifically is Sports on Tap CFB 2022, passcode SOT. So make sure you join us and get to know Bandwagon Fantasy Sports a little bit as well. So,
hopefully people will join that and go against us in that. If you like fantasy sports, I think we can have some fun with that. So hopefully people will sign up, download the app, and then just look for our code. And let's have some fun.
It's 100% free, and then we're going to have, I believe we're working on some GV Artwork gift cards for the winners. So don't quote me on that one, but just be kind of behind the curtain, behind the scenes. I think that's what we're working on. Bada boom, bada boom.
Josh said GV Artwork.
Uh-oh, he's writing it down.
That's okay. It's going to come out of Sean's salary, so.
Just discuss with Josh my salary.
Sorry, we didn't talk about that yet.
Yeah, we skipped that.
That's all right.
A couple years late on that.
That's all right. We'll talk about that after.
We will talk about that afterwards. Right now, we have senior running back linebacker from the Avon Eagles, Gavin Ehrhardt, joining us today. Gavin, thank you very much for joining us. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
What a great game to really start your season out. Coming off the heels of the Florida trip. Talk about let's talk about that a little bit. You had how was that experience? First off, going to Florida to start your season off this year.
Oh no, it was a lot of fun. It was really hot. Texas is a lot different down there. A lot different atmosphere. We went to the parks for like 3 days, but then really trying to focus up on the game. And then when we got to the game, we knew it was supposed to storm. And then we got, I think, like 5 minutes into the first quarter, and then we went off to the buses and then actually sat inside of like a high school right down the road, their cafeteria for like 4 hours. Oh. And then we were like supposed to go back and play, and then we got there. Then they actually like decided not to play. So then it was tough, but we did whatever we could have to play.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ed, go ahead.
Yeah, that's quite a trip. I mean, we talked to Coach Elder beforehand, and he's very clear that it was a business trip, and obviously you got to enjoy some of the amenities that were down there. Yeah. But I can tell you from experience, there's nothing worse than sitting anywhere for a weather delay, and then only to find out that you're not going to come back out and play. I mean, you got the W. So you got that going for you.
Really the only thing that matters.
All right, Gavin. So let's get down to brass tacks here. This game that you guys were in last Friday. you yourself and your team have been in a lot of high pressure games, a lot of fun games, playoff games. This one was a lot of fun to listen to. Rob was at the game. I was able to listen to it on the radio. But in terms of being in that game with the amount of just record-breaking offense that was there and you being on the defensive end, where does that game rank for you in terms of just being involved with it?
Actually, I think today I just found out that was the same exact score as the Toledo Central Catholic game last year in the regional finals.
Right.
But, I mean, I'd have to say that's top 3 game for me. I'd probably go with the TCC game, number 1, only because it went into overtime.
Correct. Yeah.
And then I would say that Medina game's at 2, and then the Hoban Final Four game last year is number 3. But I can't wrap my head around how many times we went back and forth in that game. Like, most fun I've had in the game, but most tired I've been in the game as well.
You know, Gavin, one question I had, and given kind of how your guys' season has started out with kind of that start and stop thing you mentioned in Florida and then having to travel back.
Yeah.
Did you guys do anything differently in the week of preparation, knowing, you know, hey, you had to travel back, and it's not an easy game by any means. You're playing a top-tier team like Medina. Did you guys have to do anything different to kind of reset your mindset because of the fact you guys didn't get to play that full game, so you kind of had that stop and start sort of feel, and then get off to a quick start against Medina early?
So actually, before we even went to Florida, we knew we weren't going to be able to like have a practice after the game Friday while we were in Florida. So we actually had practice, like a 2.5-hour practice just in prep for Medina, like the week before we went to Florida. And then we had multiple walkthroughs, like while we were in Florida too, getting ready like for the next week. And then when we got into last week, we just had our normal Monday through Wednesday routine, and then Thursdays usually walk through for us, but we actually get after it on Thursdays too. We don't just walk through as in a way, but you know, definitely had to get more prepared for the pass with them because I think the run to pass ratio was like insane last week. And
they don't run at all that game. The only running they had was Stoddard when he was scrambling. That's it. There was no running backs. It was just 5 wide, go.
Yep. Yeah, and I like the running games, but I mean, it was still fun on defense.
Well, I think that was the impressive thing. I mean, I loved being at this game. It was probably one of the best games I've ever been a part of on the sidelines to watch. I mean, my fingers hurt trying to give updates on our Twitter at SOT Podcast with the video highlights. I mean, you guys were running. At least it gave me a little bit of time to get down the field, you know, passing. And they would pass, you guys would run. Talk a little bit, you know, about the two-headed monster that you guys have going. What's it like to have a running back like Jacorian Caffey running the football? I mean, he had some really long runs, and then you finished it off at the goal line and gave him a break. It's like you guys had fresh legs almost the whole game, which, you know, after the game, I thought it was funny talking to you guys. You guys were still ready to go out there and play, even though, I mean, a 43-42 win. I mean, I would have been gassed after that. But you guys kind of give each other a break. What's it like having two running backs where you guys don't always have to run all the time?
It's nice that I don't have to worry about going from defense and playing full-time offense. It's nice having JC to take. I think he takes 60% of the reps. I'm like more like 40, kind of, maybe a little bit less. But since I'm like have such a big role in the defense, I play a little bit less on offense. But it's nice having him who takes it down the whole field, and then they put me in like the 20, and I'm just able to take it the rest of the way. But,
I mean, that's the best, isn't it? I mean, watching you guys, I was laughing because you scored a touchdown, and you looked at your student section was crazy. And here I'll try to show the video of it here of you scoring a touchdown because it was pretty impressive. I mean,
the student section is the best out there.
And I mean, it looked like a few times you were ready to go into the stands, or I think you kind of wanted to, didn't you? You want to do the Lambeau leap, leap into the stands, or is that? I don't know if that would be a good idea.
I don't know how our principals or the rest would take that.
That's true. They'd probably be like, really, come on, what are you doing here? But it would be a fun experience, I'm sure.
It would be.
Very smart answer there, Gavin. For sure. We're talking with
stay out of trouble.
we're talking with senior running back and linebacker for Avon, Gavin Ehrhardt. Started out one of the standouts of the tremendous 43-42 victory over the Medina Bees this past week. Now, Gavin, how do you balance playing both positions and playing them both at a very high level?
It just comes with the preparation and practice. They push us really hard in practice, and once we get to the game, I mean, it's really not a challenge at all. Even Monday through Wednesdays is when we really get after it. So by the time we get to the game, I don't even really think about it in a way. I just kind of just do it, and I really don't get that tired because the preparation the coaches have us do throughout the week.
So which do you like playing better, Gavin? I mean, you excel at both, obviously. But what side of the ball do you like playing a little bit better?
I love running the ball, and I would have to say defense because that's been such a big role for me ever since sophomore year. And I've been a leader on the defense since my sophomore year. So, and I mean, I love it. I know everything about our defense, and I mean, I could probably coach it right now if I needed to. That's how well-rounded I am with our defense. So, I mean, I'd have to go with defense.
So do your teammates on defense and even some of the younger guys that are coming up playing maybe on the varsity level for the first time, do they look at you as that coach on the field? Do they come up with you, or are you natural leader directing where to go? You are the coach on the field?
Yeah. I mean, if someone has a question, they'll come up to me after a check or something when we call the sideline. Throughout the week of practices, there's underclassmen or kids who are twos coming up and asking me questions. So if I have to come out of the game, if I'm a little bit too tired after going out a whole series on offense, then they'll be better prepared for when they go in.
Gavin, I mean, obviously we want to congratulate you and thank you for coming on. Obviously a great win last week, but again, it's Northeast Ohio football. It's week 3. We got to turn the page. You guys got Glenville coming up.
Oh, yeah.
And really no rest for the weary here.
Yeah.
I know it's early in your guys' preparation. Without giving too much away, what are some of the things from a defensive standpoint that you guys are focusing on trying to stop with Glenville? What do they do well that you're looking to stop?
I mean, I think they're, after looking over everything, I think they're a 70-30 run to pass. So, and I think they have some pretty big running backs, as I remember from last year. So, I mean, even today, our scout team we had our bigger running backs running the ball today, and they have, I think it's a tight end that smacks across. So then we're match fitting it. So, I mean, we're just really more preparing for run, while doing pass, but they're a heavy run team. And I think if we put up some scores early, then we'll be better off in the run.
We're talking with senior running back from Avon, Gavin Ehrhardt. Hey, Gavin, you guys have obviously had a lot of success over the last, for as long as we remember at this point. We asked Coach Elder about this earlier in the year, so I'm interested to hear it from a player's perspective. You guys have essentially played another full season just through your playoff rounds, through the various seasons since you and you were a freshman. As being a senior now, I mean, how much have you been able to glean not only from the experience of going to the state semifinals pretty much every year, but gaining more practice time and then more game time? How much has that helped you out, and how much do you think it's helped some of the other seniors out?
No, yeah, it's definitely helped us a lot more. I mean, I came back this year in the summer and I automatically remembered everything. We're that much further ahead. I feel like the season ended last year, and then I feel like we got started right back up because the playoffs go pretty long. So I felt like I just stopped and I started back up. So, I mean, that standpoint, I mean, it's easier to get more stuff in and being able to remember it. So, I mean, for the past 3 years, I remember literally everything that we've done offensively and defensively.
And how?
That's, oh, go ahead, Rob.
No, I was going to ask him. You talked about it didn't seem like there was an overlap. That you're probably excited to get back to football season. You don't have a huge off season. I mean, I know you play baseball, but now you had that nice locker room that I had a chance to see, and I'm like, man, that might be the coziest. That looked like an NFL locker room to me, or at least a college one. That looked impressive. What's it like with the support you get at Avon? Because I mean, seeing this last week, I mean, the stands were jam packed, the student sections packed, and now, you got some donations and companies out there that want to see you successful. What a great locker room that was. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'd leave that locker room for a long time with the nice couches you have. I think there's some nice TVs in there. How do you guys?
We have a lot of TVs in there.
That's pretty impressive. How do you like that locker room?
Oh no, it's amazing. We have a great community that supports us, and a lot of people put a lot of time and money into that, and a lot of players too. We actually broke down like a bunch of brick walls in the old locker room to make it a lot bigger, because the locker room used to be a lot smaller, so we expanded it and took out the old guest locker room too, so we expanded it all the way out to there. And I mean, we have all the room we want. We have couches, TVs, it's really a luxury to have.
Absolutely. I'm jealous, man. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
our locker room didn't look like that when we played. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, our seniors that graduated last year texted me a lot and said how annoying it is that, of course, at the year they leave.
Did you invite them back at least? I mean, who are some of the guys, some of the alumni? Do you keep in touch with some of the alumni and say, hey, come on back? And
yeah, I've actually, if you remember, Devin Hunter graduated 2 years ago.
Yep.
I actually, whenever he's in town, I go work out with him. And then after one of our workouts, I went and showed him around. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Hey, Gavin, real quickly, you play baseball as well. What position do you play in baseball, and how does that stack up to your football responsibilities?
I pitch and I play the outfield as well. I mean, it's hard playing both at a high level, because my winters are basically just training for baseball for the spring and for the summer, and then my summers are just made up of just traveling for baseball. And then it's hard being at some stuff for football. But I mean, it's hard to balance, but at the end of the day, I love both of them, and I love doing them both for Avon, and I wouldn't trade either of them for the world.
All right, Gavin, last question before we let you go. And again, we appreciate you coming on. You have your choice. You can either score the game-winning touchdown to win the state championship, or you make the game-saving tackle at the goal line to win the state championship. Which do you prefer?
Oh man, that's a hard one.
And if you want to say it doesn't matter because we're winning the state championship, that's cool. But that's a cop out.
How about this one? I'll score the touchdown, and then I'll run and jump into the student section, because at that point it wouldn't matter.
And you're not going to call it. It's not the Lambeau leap; it's the Eagle soar.
Yes, exactly.
There it is.
Josh is.
I love it.
He's trying to find a way to fit that in.
Yeah.
Listen. I've been down in my basement all week with COVID, so I've had a lot.
You've had a lot of time to think.
Yeah.
He has that list on that paper that says, I got to get this one in. Yep, there it is. See, told you. I know.
Well, he burned that one up because we're going to interview someone else from the North Olmsted Eagles. So, wow, we have to help us.
I'll come up with something.
Gavin, thank you so much for coming on. Great start to the season. Best of luck to you, and hopefully we'll catch up with you as the season progresses, and maybe after the year as well.
Yes, thank you for everything.
Thanks,
Gavin.
Gavin.
Good luck, Gavin.
Yeah, you too.
That is Gavin Ehrhardt, the senior running back and linebacker for Avon. What a great kid. Great student athlete. Yes, he is soaring something fierce in both.
Doing the angels on the outfield? What's going on?
Yeah.
Or Eagles in the end zone, my friend. Eagles in the end zone.
That was a great movie.
That's the theme of today's. It's the theme of today's show. Eagles in the end zone.
That's a good point. I like where your head's at.
As you mentioned, as you were talking about, Sean, Avon's got a real tough one coming up against Glenville. I mean, Glenville is Division IV only in enrollment status.
Right.
They are a division. They're a bona fide Division I, Division II program statewide for sure.
Yeah, and you look at it, what's impressive to me about a guy like Gavin is he's a starter on both sides of the ball in a big school like Avon, which shows how talented he is. You know what I'm saying? He's a contributor on both sides of the ball. And we had Coach Elder on, and when he was listing off the amount of players they have come out, they have legitimate numbers where they could 2 platoon, 3 platoon if you want to count special teams, if they really wanted to. And for a kid to transcend both offense and defense and be a contributor, that speaks to his level of talent, but also his level of commitment to that team and what he means to that team. So that was a great interview, and you wish him the best of luck. But again, he said he wants to score the touchdown because, let's be honest, everyone wants to score the touchdown. No one remembers who makes the tackle, but everyone remembers who scores the touchdown.
We were joined by another person who scores lots of touchdowns, and he has since he's been with North Olmsted. We were talking with senior running back, Mr. Everything for the North Olmsted Eagles, Jared Kelley. Jared, thank you so much for coming on our show tonight.
Thank you guys for having me.
Jared, you've been it was a tough game last week with you, but you played a powerhouse in Green, and then you had a real good game against North Olmsted or North Ridgeville as well. Obviously from a record standpoint, the season hasn't gone probably as you would like, but nonetheless, offensively, you guys have been able to put up some points. Talk a little about how you've perceived the season to be so far, and how you've been working with Xavier and the rest of the players.
The season hasn't been going how we like so far, but I mean, these are non-conference games, so I feel like we're just really starting to get prepared for once those in-conference games starts. Xavier, me and him pack a punch. I love him. He's my best friend. I feel like the second year in our offense, me and him have gotten to gel a lot better. Our chemistry's starting to get a lot better compared to last year, and I just feel that we're really becoming a way better team.
Jared, you mentioned that it is, your second year with this offense. Have you guys noticed a little bit more comfortability, for lack of a better word, with, where you guys are able to see where you can improve as opposed to just kind of getting your mind around the offense and the install of the offense from last year? Are you guys making that step, and we're just kind of seeing, you guys making that transition early in the season here?
Without a doubt. Once we got into summer with camp and stuff, I feel like our offense was moving a lot smoother off the bat. With our second year being in it, I feel like everyone knows their job a lot easier. We got a lot of people who are playing in this offense for their second year again, so things are going like a lot smoother for everyone, and especially Xavier. As a quarterback, it's hard, especially being introduced to a new offense, learning it, and I feel like he's doing a really good job.
Jared, let's talk about the game last Friday. You guys came on the short end of the stick record-wise, but for yourself, 232 yards rushing, 61 receiving yards, and 3 touchdowns. Now, there's not a lot of people out there that can say, "Oh yeah, I had a game like that." So when you're having a game like that, talk about it. Do you just get into a zone? Do you just say nothing's stopping me? Like, what is going through your head when you're having a game like that?
Yeah, I feel like whenever I'm playing good and my mindset's good, the sky's the limit for me. Once I have the confidence in that, it just goes a long way for me, especially in that game. Coming out of halftime, in all honesty, I was completely confident that we were going to go out and win that game. So I would say that I was in the zone. I feel like every time I got the ball in my hand, I was going to at least get a first down or even score. So, that's what my mindset is every time I get the ball.
And we're talking with North Olmsted running back, Jared Kelley. Jared, you play, if I'm not mistaken, you play some defense as well. How do you balance your offensive prowess, which you are very good at, with your responsibilities on defense?
Yeah, I play free safety on our defense, and I pretty much call everything. playing both sides of the ball is a very difficult thing. But I mean, plenty of people do it in high school sports, especially in our conference. So with having about 50 to 60 kids on our roster, it's just something that you have to do. And for me, I kind of feel like it's better for me because once we get into those late games in the fourth quarter, I'd say I'm pretty and with my stamina level, I'd say I'm pretty good by then compared to other teams, other players. So I feel like it's a little advantage for sure.
Yeah, I think it's impressive that you do play both sides of the ball, and I think that you remind me a little bit of Darren Anders when he played at North Olmsted. He's playing at Bowling Green at a high level now, and he played defense, but he also was the running back, and I had a chance to see a picture of, I think it was the North Ridgeville game, where you went so high in the air, you jumped over a defender into the end zone. Talk about that play, because I can't get that out of my head. I looked at that, I'm like, there's no way. He had to jump off a trampoline or something, because that was the most impressive thing I've seen. I mean, the kid was probably 6 feet plus, and you just jumped over him into the end zone. And I know, you guys lost a few close games, but you guys are right there, and that play was just impressive. Talk a little bit about that play where you went up and over a defender to score a touchdown.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I think we were, probably about on the 30-yard line, I think. We called that same exact play, I think, three times in the same exact drive. It was just moving really good for us because their apex linebacker was covering the flat the whole time. So our out route, I would say it's an out/corner. It's just pretty much just get open. It was really working good for us, and it was open, about every time. And once I caught that ball, I turned and I saw a defender right there. So my instincts were to just jump over him and put him on a highlight. So once I saw the video after the game, I was like, geez, I didn't think I was that high.
That's exactly how you guys drew it up, though. I bet you Coach Prediger's like, that's exactly what he saw happening on that play. Guaranteed.
Yeah, Coach. I told Coach Boyes, he's our offensive coordinator, after that same exact play. I told him that I was sorry for doing that because I bet he was scared of me fumbling. He was like, "No, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing. You can do that as many times as you want." So that was a relief for me.
Absolutely.
And for some reason, the North Olmsted basketball coach has been like, "Hey, can you come out and show us how to do that again? Because that's a pretty high jump from what I could see."
Yeah.
Jared, obviously we want to, obviously we talk about it all the time, turning the page to next week. You guys, have Amherst coming up next week. What is, now that you guys have had these early season difficulties, what's kind of the focus been for you as a leader on the team, but also kind of what has the coaches been preaching to you? Because as Rob said, you guys are not getting blown out of the water. You're right there. You're playing top tier football, and it's just not bouncing your way. How are you guys able to just maintain a mentality of keep doing what you're doing and keep moving forward? But you specifically as a leader, how are you translating that to the younger kids on your team?
I'd say, if you could see from week 1 to 2, the football team that we are has completely changed. That Green game was a very good game for us, and we made small mistakes that really costed us very big. And I told my guys in the locker room at halftime, I was like, we're in this game. Our coaches told us that we're in this game. And we just had to have the mindset to really finish the game out and get the win. But it didn't turn out how we wanted to, but it was for sure a learning experience for our team. And we're really just using that Green game, and especially North Ridgeville, because that's one that we really want back as fuel for this Friday against Amherst. Our coaches, we really think we can go out and get that first win for us.
Hey, Jared, we talk about you and Xavier, for lack of a better term, probably get the majority of the headlines, and deservedly so. Who are some of the other players that are big contributors that help you get to where to help you guys out?
I'd have to say our left tackle, Joey Wangstrom. He's a big dude, always blocks up good for us up front. Defense, Gavin Beasley. I'm sure you guys have seen him. He's a nose tackle, quick, very quick guy. Daniel Verdui, he's a guy who is off the edge. We kind of move him everywhere. He's a really quick guy, gets under people. Gio Rodriguez, he's coming back from an injury. So this Friday will be his first game back, actually. So we're really excited to have him back. Colin Willard, I'd say, I mean, he's really similar to me in many aspects of the game. He's going to be very good. Brady Haug, he's been with an injury, so it sucks to not have him out there. So he's going to be out for a little bit. But, I mean, those are just a couple of guys that come to my head straight away. But, I mean, there's a lot of other people who make our team as good as we are. And, I mean, especially up front. I mean, from week 1 to 2, our offensive line has, I mean, they have progressed so much, and I'm very thankful for it. And they were playing awesome on Friday, so I'm hoping that they can keep it going.
Yeah, Jared, that's an interesting point that you brought up. You know, when we were out doing our coverage and just going over some of the scores from week 1, we noticed that the offenses were a little slow out the gate coming through, and whether that's because of the different off season, maybe you guys are starting early, but then we've noticed that this week, and you even said it yourself, that the offenses are kind of, you know, coming back up to speed where they normally should be, or how it's supposed to be. Did the difference in the off season, the summer, kind of play into that, do you think, or do you think it's just kind of random and you guys are finally starting to get into that mid-season groove?
I really just think we're starting to get into that groove. I mean, Coach Boyce, he really emphasized on us, like, right out the gate, we gotta put points on the board. We can't take a little bit to get going. We gotta put points up on the board right away. So, I mean, I think just more games we play, the more experience these guys get, the more fluent things are going to go for us. So that's what I'd say.
We're talking with senior running back, free safety Jared Kelley from North Olmsted. Hey, Jared, do you play any other sports besides football?
Yeah, I run track and I play basketball.
What events do you do for track?
100-meter.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. For all the 100-yard games that you have, that makes complete sense. Playing 3 sports. I mean, we've talked to coaches. Coaches certainly encourage players to play multiple sports. You know, how do you think each one kind of plays off of each other to make you a well-rounded athlete?
I mean, I've been an athlete my whole life since I was a kid. I've always played multiple sports as a kid. I played hockey when I was little. That ended because of basketball. I fell in love with basketball. And then, I mean, track came my 10th grade, and my sophomore year, the coach came up to me, and he really wanted me to run, especially Coach Brediger. He wanted us to as well. But, I mean, track, it's obvious. The speed, I mean, it really translates to the field. Basketball, I'd say it just helps out with my athleticism a lot. But I'd say track has a big factor in my game for sure.
All right, Jared. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, you're welcome. Finish up.
I was just going to ask you one last question, because it's rare that we had two sport athletes or two guys that play both offense and defense. So I asked Gavin this. I don't know if you heard it. I'm going to ask you this. You have your choice. You can either score the winning touchdown, or you make the stop at the goal line, the winning tackle to win the game. Which do you prefer? Or does it matter? You just win the game.
Game-winning touchdown. Sorry, Coach Gava.
No question about it.
Yeah, there was no hesitation. All right.
I mean, it's 100% the other way. Everyone remembers who scores the touchdown.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
That you have multiple times throughout your career. Jared, we want to thank you for coming on. You had a great junior season. I enjoyed following you last year. And we certainly look forward to seeing what else, how the rest of your season along with North Olmsted goes. So great, best of luck to you, and hopefully we'll check in with you later in the season or afterwards.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and good luck the rest of the season. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. Bye.
That is senior running back and free safety for North Olmsted, Jared Kelley, joining us. Live here on YouTube. Our YouTube page has Sports on Tap. Again, our Twitter handle is @SOT Podcast. Make sure you check us out at our website, sportsontappodcast.com. Email us any stats, pronunciations, or other general observations at sportsontappodcast@gmail.com. Make sure, specifically on our YouTube page, hit the notification button, and you will get smash the notifications button, and you will get a note every time we are doing this fantastic show. So, tremendous interviews by both, oddly enough, Eagles players from the,
Yeah, it's an Eagles show today, man.
from their respective high schools. Um, let's get back to the. We talked with Gavin Ehrhardt earlier. Let's get back to our featured game of the week. It was Medina at Avon, and goodness gracious, was this a game? Rob, you were there. Why don't you take us through it a little bit?
Yeah, and I'll get the video up so they can follow along too with the video. But I mean, it was an incredible game. I mean, to start, you could tell it was a playoff atmosphere there. I mean, a jam-packed. The student section was rocking and rolling. Give credit to Avon. I think they really did see the running game having a solid game in this one. As Ja'Cory Caffey and Gavin Ehrhardt, I thought both of them were a 1-2 punch. It's almost like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, where Ja'Cory Caffey, he had some really big runs, but he was gassed at the end of it a little bit. To give him a break, they put in Gavin, and Gavin took it to the goal line and scored. I think he had 3 touchdowns on the game. That's the one thing I thought that was impressive. With the Eagles. And Coach Elder said after the game, and we have interviews with Coach Elder. We also have Ja'Cory Caffey and Gavin Ehrhardt after the game on our video that's on our YouTube. So go back and watch the highlights. I mean, I tried to cut it down, and it's almost an 18-minute video of highlights of all the scores. So I tried my best to take out some of the plays, but I had to leave them in there. But Ja'Cory Caffey, I mean, he ran long yards, and it kind of went back and forth. The Eagles scored first. Ja'Cory, they said, there were some media outlets that had 284, and then there's a few others that had 291. Brennan Schramm, though, right after Ja'Cory Caffey would run a touchdown here, he runs a long ways. Brennan Schramm, this kid is the real deal. I mean, no matter where he is on the field, you could double team him. He somehow gets open, and Stoddard relies on him big time. And the Eagles knew it. I mean, you can put 2 guys on him, but he still gets open, and then you have other guys open. So overall, it was Stoddard and Brennan Schramm. He did have Austin Knowles as well, and a few other receivers in there that had some big games. But Stoddard, he was impressive. I mean, he made some really, really great throws on this night, and a lot of them were deep passes as well. But
yeah, Rob, I can actually add on to that because I got the official stats from Todd Hockey, the Medina AD. So I want to really thank him for giving us these stats. So Danny Stoddard in this game went 39 of 59, I believe. I got to check that, but he did have 621 yards, 6 touchdowns. So that 621 yards is a Medina County record. That beats Drew Aller's record set last year, 523 yards. And I did not get confirmation on this, but his performance last Friday could be one of the top 5 performances in state high school football history, according to the OHSAA. Brennan Schramm, he had 14 receptions, 293 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That is also a Medina County record. He had 214 yards after the catch. He had 2 touchdown receptions of over 90 yards. It's rare to get 1 in one game, but to get 2 in one game is pretty ridiculous. You mentioned Austin Knowles. He had 12 receptions, 169 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Jack Wojcik added 8 receptions, 119 yards, and a touchdown. So as you can see, the Medina Air Bees, I made that, Sean. I don't know if you're on, but it's the Medina Air Bees. Or I also have this little place. See how you like this? Airbnb, but we have Airdnb for Danny and Brennan. We'll work on that. Maybe we'll get some T-shirts made or something.
Let's put a pin in that and revisit it.
Yeah, okay. I'll write that down in my notebook. Yeah. But yeah, Rob, you mentioned the running game of Avon. They had to have a good running game in order to keep this offense off the field for Medina. But they did a good job. But it seemed these 2 teams just going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It was really amazing. Like I said, I actually listened to the game on WDLW. They did a really nice job. They were really keeping up with all the action. They did a really nice job, and I'm actually a little jealous of you that you got to witness that because, like you said, that was a very fun game to be a part of.
Yeah, and thanks for giving those stats because that was like I said, that was a crazy good game. And Ja'Cory Caffey, he's only a junior on Avon, and I mean the way he runs the football, I mean he's a big time back. He has great breakaway speed, and you saw it in some of his runs, because I mean I know he had some really long runs, and right now in the video, you know, I even did get the marching band of both teams, so you know they were impressive, almost as impressive as the offense that was being displayed in this one, but like you said.
And Rob, real quick, Rob, I just wanted to just make sure that we're clear on it. Stoddard with 39 for 52 for 621 and 6 TDs. So,
dude, that's pretty impressive, man. That's, you know, and we talked to him last week. He didn't seem like he was very nervous, and he's like, you know what, I got to be myself, and that's exactly what he's been doing. I think, you know, coming on our show might have boosted that confidence up a little bit, man.
Hey, man.
I think 100% that's what happened.
Not really.
I'm willing to say that we have what they call the rub, if you will. So look for Gavin Ehrhardt and Jared Kelley to have monster weeks this week. Rob, I wanted to ask you because, again, I was in transit for my assignment, Surfside. And I was following this at SOT Podcast on Twitter, where all of our spotlight games are so well documented and great video highlights. So if you're looking for the place to follow our spotlight games, it's SOT Podcast on Twitter. I don't know what you're doing, but I wanted to ask you this: Did it seem odd to you to watch an Avon game where their defense was just not? And again, taking absolutely nothing away from Medina's offensive game plan and the performances of their star players, but this is not something we're used to seeing with an Avon defense where they're under it felt like an air raid type of thing. It really did, because and I understand that because they were doing what they were supposed to do, control the line of scrimmage. They were, you know, on offense. Avon was controlling the clock, so to speak, with their run game. But it just seemed like Medina was just hitting big play after big play after big play. So was it? Did you sense any frustration on Avon's defensive side of the ball while you were there, just that they had no answer for it? Or was it just, let's weather this and hopefully we can just be the last one with the ball as time was running out?
Yeah, you know, I think both these teams knew what they were dealing with. You know, you try to contain one team, but, you know, when you have a great passing offense like Medina, you're just trying to contain them, and you almost knew in this game the last team with the ball would win. Well, Medina did have the ball. They went for 2 instead of tying the game, and they didn't get it. But, you know, you're just trying to contain these teams, because really you look at Avon, and I was going to ask about Luke Hamilton and the offensive line for Avon. They know exactly where to be and how to block with this running scheme. They did a great job on that end. And then Medina, you know, they're in pass protection, and Stoddard had a lot of time to throw the ball, and he ran out of the pocket, did a nice job, and he made some really tough throws. So both defenses, I think, you know, just tried to contain each other, but it's tough when you're dealing with these high-powered offenses. I mean, they both looked in playoff shape, I mean, in this one. So it was a fun game to be a part of, and you know, congratulations, obviously, to Avon for the big win, and congratulations to Medina. I love seeing games like this early on in the season, and this is why. It was a great overall game.
We had two nominees for the G&G Fitness Player of the Week, Fitness Equipment Player of the Week in this game. Our nominees again from last week were DeJuan Owens from Copley, Brennan Schramm from Medina, Ja'Cory Caffey from Avon, and Levi Ellis from Elyria Catholic. We do have the final results. We had a total of 301 votes. Again, G&G Fitness Equipment, your local fitness equipment supplier since 1990. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at G&G Fitness EQ. Winner is Brennan Schramm runs away with it, getting almost 70% of the vote. Congratulations to Brennan Schramm of the Air Bees.
Ed, you got it.
Listen.
That's a thing, just like facts. And
you're gonna will that thing into history.
Yes. Stop trying to make Air Bees a thing, Josh. It's not gonna happen.
Air Bees.
So congratulations again. This is the G&G Fitness Equipment Player of the Week at G&G Fitness EQ. Make sure you stay tuned for after next week's performances, we'll have our week 3 G&G Fitness Players of the Weeks for each conference. We will have those on our poll on Twitter at SOT Podcast, and then you'll be able to vote on those players as well. I only have one more thing I want to mention to Brennan about Brennan before we move on to where we're going next week potentially. Brennan Schramm was an all-state receiver last year with a all-world quarterback, and some could say that Brennan Schramm was good because of Drew Allar. I think this has certain. I'm not saying some have. I'm not. What I want to accentuate is how good he is. With a new quarterback in tow, he has proven beyond a shadow of a doubt how good he is, and he will certainly. I can't see a reason why he would not repeat as a first-team All-Ohio receiver for the Medina AirBees, and he's just been he's been fantastic, and he has proven that it's not the quarterback that necessarily makes the receiver. It has to go together. Drew Allar was a great player. Brennan Schramm is also a great player. They are not mutually exclusive.
Yeah,
so,
I couldn't agree more. And seeing him in person, Ed, I mean, his route running is pretty impressive. But he's not like 6'4", but I mean, he's tall enough where he just has great hands, goes out, gets the ball, has good breakaway speed, and I was very impressed with him and Stoddard's combo. I mean, it was a combination that no matter what you do, you can take him out of the game, but there are other receivers as well there. Josh, you mentioned it. Medina has really good offensive firepower. They didn't run the ball as much. That's the tough thing.
At all, Rob. They really didn't run it at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if I remember one run other than Stoddard. He did run a few times, and they were meant for him. But give credit where credit is due. If you can't stop the pass,
Can't stop the AirBees.
But again, I also go back to, as an offensive lineman, it's very difficult to pass block. It's one of the toughest things for an offensive line to do. And with the way that Medina, and I'm not saying that phrase, because I
feel it, Sean.
The way the AirBees are tossing around the yard, and you said it yourself, there's some times where he had to scramble and he has to make some of those throws. But for the most part, that offensive line is doing some really, really good blocking for him with a very, very good defensive line on the other side, taking nothing away from Avon. And also, we mentioned, hey, Drew Allar, we talked about it coming into the year. What was the drop-off? Were we going to see a regression? We are not seeing that. In 2 weeks, I'm not seeing – I mean, look, it's one thing to have a great game one, but 2 great games where I think he's over 1,000 yards passing in 2 games. I mean, that's pretty good work. He broke Drew Allar's record in the second game. He's Stoddard is creating his own legacy at Medina right now, and it's pretty impressive to see. Having a weapon like Schramm is a gift from the gods for him because, like you mentioned, he's able to get he doesn't jump off the page at you when you're or at the warm-ups. He's not 6'4". He doesn't have a vertical leap of the top tier bleachers, but he's open. He gets open, and Stoddard finds him, and that's going to be something we can follow going down for the rest of the season because now the book's out. Now the book is out for all defenses. You got to stop Schramm. You got to stop Stoddard. But the problem is that Josh listed off a lot of those other players that had really good games too, and
it's a pretty
and
thick
those players
book.
got
I'll
open.
tell you that.
So. Yeah, it's a tough Medina's a tough out right now. And it's not anything that they're doing that's fancy to me. It just seems like they're just executing their offense really, really well. And we'll see if, a team – and again, they're about to come into GCC play with Menor and with Solon and with a lot of these teams that they maybe struggle against. And it's going to be interesting to see how they react to that. With Brunswick, we just don't know. Now, they could also go out and just – pancake everybody. We don't know, but the first 2 weeks for Medina has been just overly impressive. I mean, you can't say anything more about it.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
And we
it's
won't.
Not too bad.
You're right.
Josh is making T-shirts.
Can't say more about it. We won't say more about it. We'll just watch them play for the following weeks. So next week, week 3 is quickly upon us. where we going next week, guys?
Who wants to start?
Well, your boy.
Sean?
I'm going to venture off about 2.5 miles to my southwest,
Backyard.
maybe. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
going to Elyria
where-
Catholic. I'm interested to see how Elyria Catholic responds after a really tough loss. They got the Midview Middies coming in, so going to get a little taste of the GLC, a little taste of the Southwestern Conference, see how that mixes up in the pot. Interested to see Levi Ellis and how that quarterback and how those seniors rally now that they've had that tough loss this past week. I think that's going to galvanize the season going forward, and it's going to be interesting to watch them. I also want to see that new field.
Well, I know my direction's a little bit better than Magellan over there, so
Sure.
I'm going to be heading west down the turnpike. I'm going to actually be heading to North Ridgeville. I'm going to check out the Battle of the Unbeatens, the Normandy Invaders and the North Ridgeville Rangers. Let's see this freshman running back with my own eyes. I'm post-COVID now. I'm ready to go, back at it, ready to be back out on the sidelines on Friday night, so I'm very much looking forward to it. Sean, looking forward to your coverage as usual. And it's going to be a fun week 3, fellas.
Yep.
Very good.
Go Airbees. And Medina, you know you love it. Airbees. Let's get it. Let's get this thing going.
Oh boy.
Todd Hockey, I know you're watching. Let's get it. Airbees.
Yeah, it was great
Right.
seeing Todd. I can't wait to see what he thinks of this. Like, is he rolling his eyes right now, or I think he's getting a good laugh right now.
That's fine. Take that laugh to the student section when they all have their Airbees t-shirts. Love it.
I want to say the Airbees, but I can't because that's
You can.
reserved.
You just
strictly
did. Just did, and it sounds perfect.
I did. No, because it's reserved for Brexville. That will always be the bees of Brexville.
That's true.
Very good. Make sure you guys check and make sure everyone check out our Twitter page at SOT Podcast. You're going to get live coverage of Elyria Catholic and Midview and North Ridgeville and Normandy. Big ups for the Invaders getting themselves on the radar here. Looking forward to learning a little bit more about the Invaders coming up here. And we'll see what they can do against that freshman running back. So again, you're watching us on YouTube at Sports on Tap. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Twitter at SOT Podcast. Check out our website, sportsontappodcast.com. Our sponsors, one more time, are G&G Fitness Equipment. Follow them at G&G Fitness EQ. GB Artwork, go to their website, gbartwork.com. Use the promo code ONTAP10 for 10% off your order. RRT Productions, we shoot, we edit, you win. www.rrtproductions.com. There is a hyphen in between the RRT and the productions. Bandwagon Fantasy Sports, make sure you join our fantasy league right now to pick teams, not players. Last, certainly not least, our old teammate, Ray Felton Insurance down in Hudson, Ohio. You can hit them up at 234-284-2996. Gentlemen, great job on a tremendous week 2. Thank you again to Gavin Ehrhardt and Jared Kelley of Avon and North Olmsted, respectively, for coming on our show. And tune in again next week. More show, more players, more recaps.
And more fun.
More fun. For Rob Trout, Josh Jeffy, and Sean Duffy, I'm Ed Dick. We will see you on the other side.
Go Airbees.